Hey everybody, welcome. We're going to give it just another minute here to start right on the dot at 10 o'clock Central Time. All right, it's 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead, well, 11 o'clock Eastern time. It's 10 o'clock for most of you, so good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started with today's meeting. Thank you guys for joining in today. Definitely stay tuned. We're going to be giving away gift cards after every session. I'll go ahead and kick it off to Russ Anderton from Cohesive to give us a welcome.
Well, thank you, Jordan. Yeah, this is Russ Anderton. I know many of you. It's interesting as I reflect back on the last time we got together for the Texas Maximo user group. As I recall, it was right before COVID changed the world. In Dallas was where we held our last one at the Toyota local headquarters there. And for those of you who attended, I know Boeing was there, Lockheed was there, obviously Toyota. I know Calpine drove a number of people up, and a number of others. But you know, that was one of the best local Maximo user group meetings that I'd ever been a part of. It was just fantastic with the interaction and everything that occurred. Obviously, it's a little harder to do that in the virtual world, but we wanted to keep the spirit of the Texas Maximo user group, you know, alive and well. And one of the things that you'll get toward the end of this call is we want to, so be thinking about it as we go through this meeting today, is we'll want to get a little bit of your input on potentially getting together in person maybe late this year, you know, obviously pending how things are going on in the world around us. But either way, welcome to everyone. Great to be back together. Because this is a virtual event, we have purposely streamlined the agenda. Jordan, do you want to hop to that? There you go. So we have purposely created, you know, shorter information sharing sessions. We'll have Q&A throughout. You've got a Q&A ability that Jordan will cover with you here in just a second. But you'll see, and we always appreciate, I think everybody on the call appreciates clients willing to share their story, because it does take a little bit of work. Obviously, you can see the agenda here. I won't read through it, but we've got 3 primary presentations supplemented with a Maximo in the Cloud element as well. So let me just thank ahead of time Lindsay from Summit Midstream, Kim from Diamond Offshore, and Kim from IBM, because you know, without input from people, these meetings don't happen, because that's the whole point of the meeting. So let's see, Jordan, do you want to go over the logistics here and the gift card stuff we're going to be doing throughout?
Yeah, sure. So really quickly, like Russ mentioned, you guys can add questions into the questions tab at any time. There's going to be a Q&A session following each session, and then again at the end. So if you want to be taken off mute, just use the raise my hand tool, and I can take you off mute at the end of the session if there's time. Otherwise, go ahead and pop questions into the chat and we will get to them as the sessions are ending. And we will be doing a gift card drawing in between each session to, thank you for your participation and just make things a little bit more fun. So definitely stick around for that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give controls over to Lindsay from Summit Midstream, who's got our first presentation today.
All right, thank you, Jordan. Let me open this real quick. All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Can everyone see my screen? Just making sure.
Yep.
Yes? Okay, good. All right. So today I'm going to talk about how Summit Midstream Partners implemented 3 new applications into Maximo to improve our work efficiency and reporting. So who am I? My name is Lindsay, and I am the Maximo Administrator Asset Management Supervisor. It's a long title for Summit Midstream Partners. I am a department of 1, which is easily achievable because Projetech is our vendor and they host our cloud-based Maximo system. So they take care of the updates and the license restrictions and all that fun stuff. Go easy on me, guys, because at the age of 40, about 4 years ago, I completely changed my career. I was in commercial real estate for 19 years, and due to situations and life events, changed my career, and now I'm in oil and gas. I absolutely adore it. I love it. I love Maximo, and I had to throw that in there for you guys. All right, so Summit Midstream Partners. We are a publicly traded company. We focus on developing, owning, and operating midstream energy infrastructure assets that are strategically located in unconventional and conventional resource basins, primarily shale formations. And here on the map, you can see our footprint. We are only in the United States. So as I previously mentioned, in our title of the presentation, I'm going to go over the 3 applications that we have in recent years and one more recently have implemented for Summit Midstream. The first being our incident reporting application, our second being management of change for our Summit Operation Control Center, which we refer to as SOCC. And the most important part of that, the digital sign-off, which occurred, we implemented this due to the pandemic, and I'll speak more on that in a moment. And third, our management of change, MOC for our HSE department, and this is our most recent application that we have gone live on, and I'll talk about that last. So let's begin with the incident report application. So prior to implementing this application into Maximo, Summit was, we were functional with the incident reporting app, or incident reporting in general, but it was in our intranet, our internal company internet. And while it was functional, reporting was wonky. So the information that was input into that system, into that template, we would have to export into Excel, and it was a mess. So we went live with this at the end of 2018, and it's been great for reporting purposes and just centralizing the data in Maximo for historical record, which is very important, as we all know. So for this application, we have a dedicated tab on the Start Center for Maximo for all users in the company. We've named the application, the tab is named HSE Applications because it does not only house our incident report application function, but also the MOC HSE function. But for right now, I really on this page, on the Start Center page, have most information that flows for the incident reporting. What I mean by that is I've got a number of portlets, KPIs on this page. I'm showing you guys just one because of time constraints, but it's my favorite. This KPI is below. It's named HSE Statistics, And I've got this KPI. I've got it blacked out for confidentiality reasons, but I've got all these KPIs, as you can see, and I've got the red, green, and yellow function working here to show, if we are not hitting our target, we're in the red. If we're hitting our target, we're in the green. If we're close to not hitting our target, we're in the yellow, obviously. But this is a great way to actually look at what is going on, just big picture, actual target, and what the variance is. And I have it run every day. Oh, wait, sorry. Another portlet that I show on this page are all active incident reports. It's a graph based on what the incident type is. Again, a great overlook. The total recordable incident rates, the motor vehicle rate, and our good catches. Just a quick overview. Everyone loved it. So on to the incident report template. We put this together. We started our numbering system based on the last incident report count before we went live with the system. So it auto-generates incident report numbers. We have the incident level that is, level 1, 2, 3. That is a required field. Maximo auto-populates the event date, the reported date, and whoever the user is putting in this information, the initial user. If it's reported by someone else, that can be changed, and the supervisor can be changed. Whoops. Incident site and incident state are required fields. Location and asset we would love to have those in there, but they're not required. Extra information. Some people like to put the Latin long coordinates if available. Here's the second part of this. I couldn't fit all of the form on one page for you guys without it being teeny tiny. So next part of the form is the incident type and details. All of these are required fields that we have the initial user who's putting this in fill out. The next is the incident type. There's no yellow star, but I've put this together where if they don't fill this out, they will get an error message saying, hey, go back and choose an incident type. The user has to click new row. When they do this, it brings up a select value menu with 13 available incident types. And of course, below that is the summary description and detailed description. The summary description, FYI, is queryable. The detailed description is not. One of my favorite functions of this incident type, we got really detailed with it. I'm going to give you an example. If someone had chosen gas release as the incident type, it would pull this up, a drop down with questions. Again, these are not required, but we are very adamant on our field guides and our controllers that as much information as they have, please input in these fields. But needless to say, so if it's a fire, they would have different questions to answer, different fields to fill out. But I love this because all of these fields are queryable and makes for some great reporting when it comes time, audit time. The last little part of this form is corrective actions, where you describe what's the corrective actions. Most of the time, the initial user inputting this incident report may not know the corrective actions, and that's okay because we can always go back and fill that in later, or someone else can fill it in later. We can attach a file, we can attach a picture, a web page, and finally, we push submit. When we push submit, I've created, there's probably about 80 different notification groups, and it's all contingent upon the level of the incident type, the level of the incident report. It's also determined on the site and who gets notified. The groups are great because if someone leaves, I just delete them out of the group, or if someone gets promoted and they're over different sites, I can switch them around easily. So that's a wonderful thing about these groups. So again, when the user pushes submit, it gets sent out to the identified user group for the incident. They receive an email. Okay, moving on. Okay, the next application we're going to talk about is our management of change application for our Summit Control Center, SOCC. What prompted this is when I started with Summit in 17, we did have an employee that was dedicated to MOCs for the SOCC. Everything was paper. There were tons of binders. The controllers signed off pieces of paper. It was kind of a mess. And we had a reduction of force, unfortunately, in 19, and that person was cut, which prompted us to quickly throw this together so we could go to the digital platform. So we went live with this pretty immediately in 19. Again, we have a dedicated tab on the Start Center named MOC SOCC. And as many of you probably already know, due to security groups, I don't have to throw this tab on everyone's start page. Only those users that need to see this application see it. And again, I have portlets set up on the start page to show the user different things. So I have a portlet for all active MOCs for SOCC, all completed. MOCs reported by me, which is great. So if I'm John Doe and I'm signing in, I can see all of the MOCs that I have specifically put in myself. We have a portlet for Console 1, which are our gas MOCs, as well as Console 2. And then we do have a portlet for Console 1 and 2 because it's kind of rare, but in some cases we have MOCs where both consoles have to sign off on them. And then last but not least, we have MOCs over 45 days old, which we really try not to have any that old, but we do have that catch-all portlet so the manager can see, oh, we need to do that. We need to close these out. So moving on, this is what our MOC template looks like. Again, Maximo auto-populates the number for us, so that's wonderful. We've got the site, who it's entered by. These MOC details or fields that SOCC uses. We have a claw, which captures a lot of the control center data. They can put the number in there. We have tag list, and they want to be able to identify has the tag list and in MADB. Has it been updated? Yes or no? Completed in Signet, another program we have. What console are we? And hey, yes, no. If we've updated the procedure, if you check this box and complete it, saying confirmed, it's kind of a CYA for the controller. If they say they've updated the procedure, you're confirming here that you have. Tag number. We also added this table recently to avoid doing multiple MOCs for the same site for the same thing. I was asked if we could create a table where we could include multiple assets in one MOC, so the guys aren't doing 50 MOCs for the same thing. So that is why we have this table. And this last table is just the icing on the cake because of the pandemic. So like I said, with the reduction of force, we immediately went to this application and got it rolling, but we weren't quite there yet on the digital sign-off piece. Then enters COVID-19 and everybody working from home, and so the paper sign-off was really a challenge. We had managers working at home. Of course, controllers were still on the boards, but just getting there and signing it was a big deal. So we immediately implemented the sign-off with the MOCs. We had to make sure first that we talked to some, or I didn't talk to, but the manager of SOCC talked to those associations that regulate the control room, making sure that this was going to be acceptable for audit purposes, and they said yes. And here's why it's okay. I'll show you all. So when they sign off, it auto-populates who's signing off and what exactly it is, and time date stamps right here, which they can change if they want to, but typically they don't. When they sign off, right? They can make comments. And this is just a representation here of what it looks like when everybody's signed off. And I blacked out everybody's names, but according to all of the federal and all the regulated associations that regulate the control room, I don't know who they are, but I'm sure y'all do. This was okay because all of this is queryable. We throw it into a report for audit purposes, and everybody's just loving this because it has eliminated the binders and the paper and the hey, sign this, and did you sign this, and I don't know what I did with it. My dog ate it, and somebody threw it away. That kind of situation. So this was great. And finally, the last application that we have implemented and are just touching on using it now is management of change application for HSE. This I will probably make this its own dedicated tab at some point in the very near future. Right now, it lives under the HSE application tab where our incidents live. Probably need to separate those. Again, it's our newest application. The template for the new MOC documents all. This was a real bear because it documents all phases of the MOC for HSE compliant with OSHA rules and regulations. So if you're familiar with how this works, there's all sorts of routing, and there's scoping and development and startup and post-startup and post-close and close. I mean, it goes through a lot of people, a lot of departments. So we're currently, because of that, right now we're currently only using this tool for our PSM facilities. We will eventually go to all of our facilities. But it is challenging because it requires, like I said before, this requires a very large workflow. And as people change or leave or get promoted or switch from here to there, it's constantly changing. So that's the biggest challenge, is just keeping on to make this process as fluid as possible. All the people, the right people, need to be in the right places for this workflow. So that's been a little challenging, but we're working on it. And this is what that template looks like. It's a lot of information, all queryable again. They were using an Excel spreadsheet that was like 100 tabs long. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So when they found out that hey, yeah, we can put all of this in Maximo, everybody was just like, woo, very happy. Oh, here's the second half of that template. Couldn't fit it all on the page for you guys. And so the takeaways from this presentation, I hope for you, are things that I've already said, which is, customize Maximo. Maximo is really customizable, and make Maximo work for you. I mean, we've made everyone's life at Summit so much better, it's so much easier, and with this incident reporting tool, and with the MOC SOCC tool, and now with the HSE MOC tool. So make Maximo work for you. And again, use applications to ensure compliance. Make sure that's number one, of course, but have it all centralized and housed in the same place, so general auditing is a breeze. And lastly, I said this before again, centralizing all the data in Maximo for historical record. That's it. Anyone have any questions that I hopefully can answer?
At this time, feel free to use the raise your hand feature to be unmuted, or go ahead and throw your questions in the questions box. All right, and I'm not seeing any hands raised, and I'm not seeing any questions in the question box. So we will go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, We do have one. How long did it take to get MOC going?
Which one?
Ed, do
The
you want to go?
SOCC?
You want to go off mute and elaborate on your question? I will go ahead and unmute your mic. Ed, you there? All right, he says
Well,
either one. Either one.
Okay,
How long did?
I'll answer both. The MOC for SOCC was pretty quick, like I said, with the reduction of force. We had to get that. I would say that probably took 60 to 75 days for that, just with all the testing and the going back and forth on multiple meetings with SOCC to make sure we captured everything. And even after, here's the great thing, even after we captured everything we thought we captured, we did make some additions later, but those additions were thrown into the 20 or 25 incidents that we already had in place, and the guys just went back and filled in that information. So we were able to go back on those that were already, what's the word I'm looking for? The ones that were already done, I guess you could say. As for the MOC HSE, so that project started before I was hired. So I'm thinking the conversation started in 15 and it started getting underway in 16. And I want to say that it was about 90% done when I came on in 17. And then it just kind of got put on hold for a year and really just started being implemented in 19, really. Yeah. So I would say that piece took a couple of years. I mean, it was quite complex. Not to say it couldn't be done faster by other corporations, but for Summit, it was slow moving. I'm not sure why exactly.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. And then we have a question from
Yeah.
Wade asking, was this built on base Maximo or do you have the HSE add-on?
I have the HSE add-on.
Awesome. And then Scott is asking, were all three of the apps you showed built by you in-house or with outside consultants?
Oh, 100% outside consultants. As I said, my career, the bulk of my career was not in oil and gas, or computer science for that matter. So yeah, I needed all the help I could get on the back end, formulating of everything.
Gotcha. And Scott's also following up with, what part of Maximo did you use to build the custom apps?
To build the custom app? Oh, I don't know, because I didn't do it. We had an outside vendor do it. I'm not sure what they used.
All right. Any additional questions before we go ahead and move forward? Thanks so much for the engaging questions this far. All right. Thanks so much, Lindsay. If you guys come up with questions about this in the meantime, we'll have an open session at the end. And then Lindsay's email is going to be on the final slide as well. So feel free to contact her directly. I am going to go ahead and go ahead, Lindsay.
No, I just said yes. Please feel free to contact me with any other questions. I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and hand off the presentation controls to our next presenter. And in the meantime, we actually have a winner for the first gift card, which will be a Uber Eats gift card. And Sushant from Mosaic, you were the winner in the random tool picker app that I used. So I will be emailing you your gift card today. And then Joe, if you want to go ahead and launch that poll while I get the screens shared. Awesome. So what are you looking forward to most when, quote, normal returns, whatever that looks like for you? Go ahead and submit your vote right there and we'll see what the most popular the most popular answer is. Still got some votes coming in here. So far, traveling seems to take the cake by far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share the results for you guys so you can see. Most of us said traveling, followed up by seeing family and friends. I couldn't agree more. Eating at restaurants, and 0% said kids back in school. I know a lot of people are already back in school, so thank you guys so much. And Tim, you should be up for presenting and sharing your screen. And if you want to toggle those display settings, Tim, at the top of your screen, that way it will be the presentation mode and not the notes mode under display settings. There you go. Swap, there you go. Awesome. And I can't hear you. Want to make sure we'll be able to hear you. Is your mic unmuted?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sorry about that. Welcome everybody. I want to first say, Lindsay, great presentation. And if you went easy on Lindsay, I'll ask you to go doubly easy on me, as I'm the CIO and not the technical person for Maximo, so I won't be able to do half as great as Lindsay did in answering questions regarding their implementation for Summit. So getting started, Maximo at Diamond Offshore. First of all, I'm Tim Jackson again, the CIO. I came to Diamond Offshore back in 2015 at the beginning of the downturn in the drilling contract industry. For the drilling contract industry as the Director of Global Infrastructure, became the acting CIO back in 2019, and then got the permanent position about 6 months later. In IT, I developed a strategy. I'll start off talking about it. Kind of leads into why we're using Maximo. We have a strategy mission statement called what I call RISE, where we aim to provide reliable, innovative, secure technology and execute efficiently and effectively on all initiatives handed to IT in order to help the company achieve our purpose to responsibly unlock energy. See, the slide is, so a little bit about Diamond Offshore. We were, if you followed us in the news, we were previously a publicly traded company. 52% was owned by the Lowe's Corporation. Little fun fact, I ironically have worked for 3 of the Lowe's subsidiaries, not on purpose, but just so happens in my career, I ended up with 3 of them. And we are now, we back in April of last year, 2020, we proactively filed for Chapter 11. We recently emerged from Chapter 11, actually just April 23rd, and so now we are a privately owned company. When I entered Diamond Offshore, we had approximately 45 rigs. We now have 13 offshore drilling units. 4 of them are ultra deep water drill ships. 9 of them are semi-submersibles. We are headquartered here in Houston, Texas, and we have major offices in Macaé, Brazil, Perth, Australia, and Aberdeen in the UK, but we also have smaller offices in Kuala Lumpur and other areas of the world. We have also Malaysia. We do at Diamond Offshore promote what we call the diamond difference, and we try to achieve something that the other offshore drillers can't provide their customers. We drill for, of course, companies like BP, Hess, Chevron, etc., Shell, all over the world. And so when it comes to drilling contract space, which is a very tough market, and right now there's not a lot of a demand for offshore drilling rigs, we feel that we can compete by giving, again, what we call the diamond difference, and that's providing innovative solutions to drilling offshore, to drilling oil and gas in an offshore environment. And again, our purpose and mission for the company is, again, to the respect of the lives we touch and the impact we make. We believe in responsibly unlocking energy. And basically what we try to do, we try to avoid spilling crude or anything that does not belong in the ocean, no dropped objects. We try to make sure the environment in which we drill, it remains safe. And then more importantly, we stress safety. Our motto is honor, safety, protect all. We believe if you go to work for Diamond Offshore, especially on a rig, if you show up with 10 fingers and 10 toes at the end of your shift, at the end of your tower, that's what you leave, you go home with. So Maximo, we are using the SaaS Flex model with replicated environments, meaning we are using IBM's Maximo Cloud, and we replicate that back down to the rig. We're using SDR, separate company, to do the replication from the rig to the cloud. And we do also have integration with our Oracle, our ERP purchasing system, meaning if you're on a rig, you put in your purchase order for a critical spare in Maximo, that gets replicated to the cloud, and that cloud instance there is a integration table in Oracle that puts it into our purchasing system so that it does get accounted for in the GL every month. And what we're using Maximo for is asset management, work management, inventory management, again, purchase requisitions that I just mentioned. We did do some custom apps during the implementation back in 2017, cargo manifest, riser manifest. Again, that global rig replication, we customized that. And as you can see, we also made sure that we standardize our data. We were using an application by NOV to do asset management, but that's all it was really doing. Each rig had their own standards. Each area of the world seemed to use it differently. So we took the opportunity to standardize the data. And again, the main goal was moving more and more toward a truly enterprise system, opposed to one that was just used by each rig and each region. And then recently we've added, with the help of Cohesive, our implementer, a job system analysis component, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So our business case for Maximo HSE was, again, we were using a application, well, I'm going to try to avoid mentioning it, but we were using an application that was from a smaller vendor. They weren't doing a lot of innovation, and the cost structure of using that was fairly prohibitive in terms of the downturn we were faced with in terms of trying to reduce costs. And so, believe it or not, Maximo HSE provided a much more cost-efficient method of doing our job system analysis and checklists in that enterprise system. We had a lot of outages. It was very paper intensive, and so here again, Maximo was the application we decided to switch over to. So some of the other business cases for going with Maximo HSE to do our job system analysis and checklist. We wanted to ensure data was captured consistently across our global organization. Again, like with asset management, people were doing different things and define hazards, for example, and job codes very differently across. So one of the things we did initially on the onset of the project was to have a group of workshops, almost 2 weeks, where we brought in subject matter experts from around the world to the Diamond location, and this is all pre-COVID, and work from home. And they literally sat in a training room, whiteboarded the entire process, and standardized and said what works well, what didn't work well in the current system. Forget technology, they put that aside and focused on the process of doing job system analysis. Again, why do this? We wanted to reduce the audit risk and again increase the system availability. The total cost of ownership again was lowered by moving over to Maximo. And one of the innovative things we did as part of our RISE statement was to go ahead and implement the EasyMax mobile application for use with Maximo HSE. And that application allows ruggedized iPads to be used on the rig. And so instead of going to a kiosk and keying in and then printing out and then running up to the OIM, the captain of the vessel, to approve your job plan before you start work, you can now use the EasyMax mobile app to enter and be all over the rig as needed. And I'll skip right to, we piloted this on one of our drill ships here in the Gulf of Mexico, the Black Lion. And we are rolling it out to the rest of the fleet throughout the rest of the year. But the initial response we got was overwhelming. Obviously, it was less buggy than the legacy system, but they absolutely loved the iPads. And the big win was they previously printed out literally 400 to 500 pages with that older system. And now the use of EasyMax Mobile with Maximo HSE, they no longer need to do it. So here, hopefully Greg Holly is on to help assist me with some of this. He was the project manager, not the initial project manager for Cohesive, but he came on and assisted me with finishing out the project. But here is where I want to talk more so about the difficulties in implementing Maximo HSE. Okay, great. Like at Summit, we had a reduction in workforce. In the drilling contract industry, we literally had 2 big hurdles back in January of 2020. We had the OPEC price war that was going on between OPEC and Russia that crippled oil and gas prices, as some of you might remember. And then COVID just literally drove down the demand as everybody started working from home and stopped driving. The demand for oil and gas literally crippled. And as you probably saw at one point, oil and gas, the price of oil and gas per barrel went into a negative amount, which literally meant companies would pay you to store oil and gas instead of selling it to a producer, which was pretty crazy. So for Diamond Offshore and drilling companies like us, Chevron, BP, Hess, all of their drilling programs around the world dried up and said, thank you, but no thank you. We don't need your rigs, which prompted Diamond, and we were already in the longest protracted downturn in the history of oil and gas at that by last January. That forced Diamond to do some proactive things. One, we had a reduction in workforce, and for IT, I ended up very painful experience to have to lay off 50% of your IT staff around the world. That's one of the things I had to do. The other thing that really hurt this project, or was a major obstacle to the project, was across the company. We also lost, well, the executive sponsor for this, one of the executive sponsors, retired. We also had the major project sponsor in HSE was part of the layoff, so we lost him. And again, for me in IT, I painfully had to let go my project manager and my technical lead for Maximo overall. And so we got to a point in April where we declared Chapter 11, which put the project on pause for approximately 6 months. On top of that, with COVID, we now had to figure out, when we do restart this project, how are we going to do this virtually? Because we no longer had the ability to gather in a classroom and do the workshops and do UAT testing, smoke testing, none of that. We had to all do this virtually from home. So we shipped out the iPads. We had our subject matter experts and HSE coaches log in. Everybody did their testing, and we had a daily meeting, came together and reported the issues and worked through those issues every day. So that was a big hurdle. And one of the things they told us on the onset of trying to do this, the old project team told me, Tim, there's no way we can do this virtually. We have to physically be together. There's no way we can do training. We have to be in the classroom. Well, now, after that team got laid off, Cohesive and Diamond and the business unit sponsors, we had to figure out how to do that. And the good news is we did. Again, we did. I'm going to pause there. Greg, anything else regarding the obstacles we faced?
Well, there were a couple of unforeseen circumstances that would not have been able to be prepared for. Remember the weather, obviously, at the end of last year caused a little bit of a delay in the ability to actually get out to the rigs.
That's right.
That was a surprise, but actually nothing else that I believe impacted the ability to prepare the IT solution. It was just more a matter of getting people out to the site itself to prepare the rig and do the initial training for the deployment.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yes, the hard freeze here in Texas did hamper us a bit, and we also realized at some point during the project, our rig infrastructure required different access points for these newer iPads. So that was something that was added to the project as well, additional hurdle. But again, kudos to Cohesive. I had challenged Cohesive, George and Russ. We had a conversation, golly, it seems like years ago, but I said, let's think about how we would do this virtually. We're going to eventually work from home. We need to think about it. And Russ responded to me that Cohesive was doing that with other customers. So when it came time to do it, I had every confidence that we could do it. And again, IT, I had prepared the organization. We had prepared the organization to work from home, and we were very used to working from home. So technology-wise, with Teams and the ability to remote in to a customer's workstation to see exactly what they're seeing, all worked seamlessly. And again, kudos to the Cohesive team. We had two of their very best folks that one was on the project, another one stepped in, and and carried us through. I want to talk a little bit about the customizable applications before I go into my last slide. You know, one of the I heard Lindsay mention, you know, you can customize Maximo, very flexible, which is true. One of the challenges with doing that from a maintenance standpoint is when we upgrade, anytime we upgrade application, forget Maximo for a second, when you customize it, and Oracle, for example, gives you that latest patch, now you have to go back and apply all of your custom code. And that is one of the things I often challenge my team. If you're going to, or the business unit, if it needs to be customizable, is there a strategic advantage that we're doing, or are we trying to change Maximo to meet a process that needs to be changed or revisited? So that's just my 2 cents on customizing apps. And a good example of that for Diamond Offshore right now is we are in agreement with Seadrill Limited Partners to manage, operate, and market 3 of their rigs. Luckily, Seadrill Partners also uses Maximo. The complexity of it is, okay, now we have to take their location IDs, we have to take their assets, we have to take their asset meters, all of the information, and pump it into our Maximo system. And if they're using a customized cargo manifest application, you know, how is that going to translate to ours? So now there's this mapping exercise that we have to do. And if they have customized it so much, that's going to create a lot of work that's going to make it very hard to intake those rigs into our system. So what's next for Maximo at Diamond Offshore? Again, we're going to continue the rollout of the pilot to the rest of our fleet. We have in a couple of weeks the next drill ship that's going to be integrated with Maximo HSE. Before September, we, like most customers, if you're on 7608, that is going to be non-supported. So you have to upgrade to at least 7612, where I believe 8 is out, but we're not going to go to the latest version. We're going to just go to the minimum version that's going to be supported. We've talked about condition-based monitoring since we implemented Maximo. It's probably not going to happen this year. We also talked about doing some enhancements to our cargo manifest application, a service rental ordering tag, AFE tracking, and an integration between Oracle and OneStream for accruals and forecasting, integrating that into Maximo. Those last 4 or 5 bullets, I say we're probably not going to do that, because I will say this, with Diamond emerging out of Chapter 11, that was the great story. We removed $3 billion worth of debt from our expense sheet. That was a great story, still is a great story. However, in the drilling contract space, just like with the airline industry, when they fell on hard times, there is a contraction of airline industries, and that's what's going to happen in the drilling contract space. And so while we've done a great job, and our whole intent of proactively filing for Chapter 11 was so that we can be an acquirer of another contract driller, there is still the opportunity for us to have made ourselves attractive to be acquired by someone else. So a lot of our plans for Maximo are a little bit on hold right now. We don't want to invest a lot of effort. We could acquire somebody who has some of these items already in place, and we could be acquired by somebody who's using IFS or another application, and they would be the ones in charge of how we handle assets, inventory management, etc. So a big question mark on the future of the IT strategy for me. Again, it's a little bit on pause to see what the new board and the new CEO wants to do, what direction they want to take the company. Greg, was there anything else we wanted to touch on?
One thing that may be interesting for the group would be how you, from a point of view of the client, managed the two separate engagements with SRO, who I believe you were already working with, and then how we actually joined that together for the implementation at the end. Because obviously we had to get everything coordinated with them and with what Cohesive had provided to you for the solution, plus Interpro for EasyMax Mobile, and bringing all that together.
Yeah, that's a great point. It was not, I give a lot of credit to Cohesive. It was not just working with Cohesive, but it was also coordinating with SRO, with Interpro. Interpro, the one great thing about the project, Cohesive pretty much integrated Interpro as a subcontractor of the project. So for me, from a management standpoint, it was fairly seamless. When I was talking with Interpro representatives, the Cohesive management team coordinated a lot of those conversations and integrated them into those conversations. So it was pretty good. I also failed to mention our Maximo instance, both HSE and what I call regular Maximo is supported by IBM's application management support team. One of the challenges, ironically, right now is that is an offshore team in India, and I was just on an operations call to ease everyone's concern that everyone is still in place and Maximo is supported, even though some of the members are a couple of them did come down with fever last week. So between IBM, Cohesive, Maximo, Interpro, SRO, it was a great coordination effort that, again, hats off to Cohesive for helping me. I mentioned I had to lay off my project manager. I had to become the project manager from the Diamond side. And so imagine only having a 50,000 foot level, signing invoices and approving AFEs, and now you're immersed in the details. That was a little bit of a challenge, but again, Greg and his predecessors helped me through that greatly. So publicly, once again, Greg, thank you to you and your team.
Very much appreciated, Tim. And with the challenges that, of course, Diamond had during this, it was very good to have a very collaborative, open communication to manage the project, and wouldn't have been able to do it without that approach from yourself. So it worked very well.
Agreed.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Greg. We are now going to open it up for questions. We do have just a few minutes here to stay on schedule. I see one already in the queue from Darla. Asks, Tim, does your team have any difficulty with use of the iPads regarding network availability, and do you have a backup in place?
Oh, great question. So right now, having rolled it out to the one rig, because the iPads are not going over VSAT off the rigs to the cloud instance, they are all local to the Maximo server on the rig. Right now, we have not had a lot of problems. We did initially, as I mentioned, connecting those iPads to the access points we had on the rig. Assigning MAC addresses was a difficulty. I can't speak eloquently to all the technical hurdles, but once we got that figured out, we went to AeroHive access points. We configured them to our new wireless VLAN. We have had very few problems over the last month and a half so far. Every now and then, the AMS team gets a call and says, iPad cannot access Maximo. They go in and do something, and it's a very simple fix, but great question.
All right, thank you, Tim. And Tim Bartman is asking, are you running each of these ships and rigs independently on their own instance? And are you consolidating any of their data to a central, sorry, my, my text box is cutting off here. Are you consolidating any of their data into a central instance? And Tim, I see your hands raised, so I can just go ahead and unmute you so you can elaborate on this question. All right, Tim, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
I can, this is Tim Jackson. I can go ahead and answer. I think I got the gist of the question. So yes, we have a Maximo rig instance on each rig, and there is again a cloud instance of Maximo that all the rigs replicate up to that central cloud instance. And so that allows us, and then the replication back down. So that allows us to see, for example, if the Black Lion has a critical spare that the Black Hawk may need, instead of reordering that part, they can now see the assets and share those across. And there is a material transfer manifest that could be done, and that equipment can be shared across the fleet.
Yeah, and Tim Bartman, this is Greg, just to provide a little background to that. And this is what Diamond are actually using SRO for. So they will take all of the information from each of the rig databases independently and merge them into, if you like, a shore-based environment, and then distribute the updates back out again. It makes the upgrade capability very easy as well, because SRO will manage all of those changes from all of the different places and work out where to distribute the data. So in terms of what could be a very messy upgrade moving between the rigs, it should be very easy to do, as long as we get the replication obviously correct. And SRO have been with Diamond longer than we did this last project, and I believe everything is stable from that point of view. So when we get to that new point of doing the upgrade and doing the replication out and synchronizing all the changes when they have a new rig or when they remove a rig, all of that should be taken care of through the SRO process.
That's great. Thank you, Greg. Any more questions before we go ahead and move on to the next session? All right. Thank you so much, Tim, for that presentation. And at this time, I'll go ahead and ask Joe to launch our next poll. And while we're doing that, I do have a winner for the next gift card. Christy Eads from Fort Worth. You have an Omaha Steaks gift card coming to you. So I will grab your email from the registration. Thanks for hopping on. And this poll is, are you planning to attend Maximo World in August? So Maximo World is happening in Florida in person, definitely with safety measures to make all guests and attendees feel comfortable. And we would love to hear if you guys are planning to attend. All right, looks like the voting has slowed here, so I will go ahead and close and then share the results just in case you're curious. So it looks like we're pretty split. 33% yes, we're excited to see you guys. We will be there. 30% no, 33% unsure but would like to. And we'll keep this conversation going up to the event to make sure you guys have everything that you need to feel comfortable to attend the event as well. All right, and at this time, we are going to do a sponsor spotlight. Cohesive Solutions, the Cohesive companies, and Projetech are partners that provide a joint service to the Maximo community. So Russ and Betsy from Projetech and Russ from Cohesive are going to present. I'm just going to take back the controls here. Tim, I think you might have to swap them back to me. Give me controls there. Oh, wait, no, you don't.
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks, Jordan. Hope everyone can hear me. Yep. My name is Betsy Ambrosius, and I'm a part of the business development team at Projetech. For those who are not familiar with Projetech, we are an IBM Gold business partner who specializes in providing cloud solutions for Maximo. We have been offering our Maximo as a service solution for over 20 years and have over 125 clients worldwide. Hey, Jordan, you're showing your teams. Thanks.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
The joys of virtual events, guys. So on the slide, you can see that we are ISO certified as well, which means that our solutions, not just at a data center level, are audited by a third party annually to ensure that we are following best practices on cloud security and data protection. Next slide, Jordan, please. And we're happy to be co-sponsoring this event with our partner, Cohesive Solutions. We were, I think we've been co-sponsoring TexMug for the last year or two. And if you were at the Toyota location in Plano, our client, C&W Services, is the facility service provider of that site there, and also some sites across the US. So it's a pretty cool location to visit. So if you're in that area, they do like tours. I'm not sure if they're doing those now with COVID, but it's a pretty awesome site to go to. So on this slide, you can see the joint clients that we have together who are using the Maximo as a service solution. So we at Projetech manage the cloud infrastructure and manage the Maximo application, and Cohesive provides the support and services to our clients. So wide range of industries there. And the next slide, please. And this, the final item I wanted to highlight before I turn it over to Russ is, if you are not a member of the MORE community, which is Maximo Online Resources and Education, I'd recommend you to join. And some of you may are members and found out about the TexMug from this event or this community. We launched actually this community a year ago this month, which is crazy because it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. And to date, we have 1,156 members. So lots of activity, lots of user engagement with all those members. It is really a great site to interact with other Maximo end users and subject matter experts. There's a lot of open forum chats and that are always very active. So if you have a question, it's a really good spot to get your question answered. Tons of resources that are solely for Maximo. So this is just a Maximo only space. So perfect for folks like you who are on the call. And that's about it. So thanks for your time, and thank you for everyone joining live today. And I'll turn it over to Russ.
Good, thanks, Betsy. I think most of you are familiar with Cohesive Solutions, so I won't go through everything we do. But we have had some pretty exciting updates over the last 12 months, why most of us have been hunkered down during the COVID year or so. And some of this might have not been on your radar, so we thought it was relevant to share this with you, not so much from an internal perspective, but from the perspective of, you know, what difference this might mean to you as a potential client. So over the last year, Cohesive was acquired about this time last year by Bentley Systems. So we are now a Bentley Systems customer, or company rather. And Bentley Systems is a global SaaS, software infrastructure company, for those of you who are not familiar. We continue to do business as usual. For those of you who are already working, like Tim Jackson, who just presented, you know, we just continue to do business as Cohesive Solutions. In addition to that, though, when Bentley acquired us, they created a group called the Cohesive Companies. And then after our acquisition, they went on to acquire SRO Solutions, who you just heard a little bit of an example of with the Diamond Offshore scenario. SRO is a Maximo consultancy in the UK, so that gives us a strong presence, throughout Europe and the Middle East now as well. And then most recently, not sure if all of you have seen this news yet, but Bentley then acquired OnTrax just, maybe a month or so ago. That was announced. And it's really been fun to be part of these organizations beginning to collaborate. We all knew each other before these acquisitions, but we're all collaborating in a way that I think is really beneficial for customers at the end of the day. And I've been right in the middle of it and seen it and felt it. And if the pool of talent that each of us now have access to basically just about doubled or tripled. So we are now the largest dedicated Maximo consultancy, in the world, by far. And the difference that makes to you, again, is that depth of industry expertise, whether it be oil and gas, utilities, state and local government, manufacturing. We have a tremendous depth at this point. We did before, and now it's kind of times 3. So I think that's beneficial and something that's relevant for you as a customer. The other thing that comes with this, again, from a client perspective, is each of these companies has done some really neat things over the years in terms of solutions. So you just heard a great example of what SRO provides. You didn't hear the example of what they provide for dynamically upgrading your Maximo system, whereby you can, have 0 downtime during the upgrade. But a really nice software solution for that. OnTrax has a whole plethora of utilities. Some of you use MaxEdit. Some of you probably use their tool for helping you reconcile duplicate data, including item data. Anyway, they've got a whole list. You can just go out to the website and check it out. They also have a out-of-the-box Maximo Fast Track solution for companies kind of just getting started with an out-of-the-box pre-configured flavor of Maximo. And then Cohesive has, a number of things like a reliability-centered maintenance solution that sits right inside of Maximo, and Propel, which is a KPI solution, pre-configured, et cetera. So the portfolio of that of value add is significant when you look across these 3 organizations collectively. So each of you, if you're already working with OnTrax, if you're already working with Cohesive, already working with SRO, everything kind of is as normal from a surface level perspective, but in the background, we are actively collaborating and working together on our clients' behalf. So that's what I would want you to be aware of. And then the last slide there, Jordan, was just a quick update to make sure that you know that we build organizational change management into really everything we do. And we think this is probably the most important factor in your projects. So when you're talking to us, you're probably going to also have a conversation around this topic. And one of the new innovative things we're doing here that's really been exciting has been use of a new digital technology for training. There's some tools out there that we're now utilizing that really expedite and make it much more cost effective to do effectively computer-based training. Now, I won't get into the details of that here, but it's an integral part of our OCM strategy, and which is an integral part of our implementation methodology. Jordan, that's about it, unless there are any questions.
I don't see any. Anyone with questions, feel free again to raise your hand or pop them in the chat box. I will go ahead and add to, Russ was just mentioning organizational change management and this new innovative technology that we have available for clients now. We recently pushed out a blog that explained a little bit about this and Maximo adoption and how to increase Maximo adoption. So lots of cool stuff happening. Just head to our website, and under blogs, you can read that one, learn more about it, and schedule a demo if you'd like. So I'm not seeing any questions come up. So I am going to go ahead and share to Kim Woodbury from IBM, who's going to talk to us about the Maximo application suite. And then following that presentation, we will do our last gift card draw. And Joe, if you want to go ahead and launch up the third poll, please do that. I'll tell you what, guys, these virtual events, they're logistics on logistics, aren't they? If you've ever hosted one, you know. But we're getting the hang of it. All right, so while Kim's preparing to share her screen, the question is, how are you preparing for the Maximo application suite? So 4 different answers. No preparation initiatives at this time. Planning to upgrade to Maximo 7612. Upgraded to Maximo 7612, or are unsure of what your plans should be. Give it just a minute here to get more people on the poll. All right. Looks like we're pretty split between not having any initiatives at the time, planning to upgrade, and unsure of what plans should be. So hopefully this will give you a good introduction into MAS. And then of course, you guys can always reach out. We are here to equip you to handle MAS and learn about all of its features and benefits so that you can make the best decision for your organization moving forward. And Kim, I will go ahead and pass the mic to you.
Great, thanks. Still just trying to figure out my, oh, they can see my screen. There we go. Okay, it was paused there where the poll was on. I just want to make sure it was working. Am I up?
Awesome. Yep, I can see it.
Okay, let me just collapse this. So that was great to see some of the results there, and I think that's where a lot of people are split. And hopefully I can help some of those of you who are unsure of what to do by giving you a little bit more information about what the Maximo Application Suite 8 version offers, and how the EAM components, which are managed, are going to be delivered in the suite. The release date for that is May 18th, so it's right around the corner. So we're helping to get everyone educated, and if you've seen this presentation before, hopefully you can pick up something new today. I do feel like I've been in front of a number of customer audiences recently with various webinars and different user groups, but like I said, there's always something new to learn, and we continue to evolve these presentations, and as we have more conversations and you know, hear the questions and try to address them, I hopefully can shed some light on what this all entails, and you know, we are excited to be able to offer our whole, as it says, suite of applications that we've been continuing to roll out over the last several years, expanding the capabilities and enhancing what you can do around, you know, traditional EAM with some of the newer technologies and newer business processes to help all of our customers along this journey. So one of the things you'll notice as we talk about changes and what's new with the suite, there's a lot of areas where we talk about simplification, and one of them is the naming. And so you'll see that we've moved to these one word when we can names, or in the case of visual inspections, just very concise, explaining exactly what it is. I think we've been in a long history of IBM product names that are a paragraph long to help describe what it is. So the one change most relevant to this group is manage, is now everything that was under the Maximo Asset Management portfolio. So when we say we're delivering manage in the application suite in 8.4 in May, that is the core asset management capabilities along with all of the industry solutions and the add-ons. So things like oil and gas and utilities and transportation, as well as the health safe environment, service provider, mobile capabilities, spatial, etc. And we've also simplified some of the packaging and how we license this product, and it applies to those individual components as well. And I'll give you some highlights on that. What's really is exciting is under this single part number of the application suite is that you also have access to all of these other capabilities that you have an option to install or deploy in that OpenShift environment. And so things like Monitor that allows you to connect and get real-time data from your assets from various metering or SCADA systems or other data sources. And it provides a very configurable and insightful dashboard that also layers in some AI-driven anomaly detection to help really get into where there are problems in your systems, in those assets that you're monitoring. Gets rid of a lot of the false positives, and then also has the connection directly back to manage. So the integration between all of these tools and the ability to create service requests or look at the work order history as I'm trying to assess monitoring of those assets. I do hear someone typing. I don't know, Jordan, if you can just take a look at the muting. Thanks. Another great new capability is with the visual inspections. So as we, again, infuse the new technology to be able to analyze images of different assets, however those are collected, whether it's pictures that are taken by someone or an automated way of feeding in from cameras or other sources, to be able to do some less manual observation and detection of faults when they might be occurring on that asset. So to be able to train those models to really be able to understand what's something in good repair versus disrepair. And it might be something that isn't even as apparent to the human eye and really does need that next level of technology to help understand where those faults are. Moving up to the right, we talk about health and what had previously been branded Asset Health Insights. Now where we're starting to look at across our portfolio and be able to apply some logic and formulas to bring together the overall health scoring, bringing in information that might come from Monitor, that comes from Manage, from your work order history, that can come from the manufacturer's information that might be stored, again, as part of Manage or brought in from the digital twin marketplace. So I understand the manufacturer's expected life, and the investments then that are needed to maintain or make decisions about whether I continue to maintain those assets or replace them. And tied into that is the predict capability. So the models that are delivered out of the box or the capabilities to build new models that now, based on some series of failure data, I can start to make predictions and use that to drive my decisions about when I'm doing PMs and if I'm over or under PMing. And again, back to really that capital investment that might be needed to maintain those assets. I know that there's, a lot of, we talk to customers and we are just using EAM and that's all we really need, but I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And when we talk about being able to implement some of these things more easily in those environments and the way that they are managed and integrated within the suite, you can start thinking about moving towards predict, and maybe it's, on your 2, 3, 5 year roadmap. And when I hear about the requirements and really being able to drive good predictions, that's the kind of data you need in any case, right? So understanding today, how do those models work in predict? What kind of data are they going to be looking for from my maintenance history? Am I capturing the right kinds of failure codes? Do I have the right information so that when the time comes and they say, well, we need to look at 3 years of failure history, that I've got something meaningful and can really get some value out of those capabilities. Of course, across all of this, we're supporting mobile connectivity and the technician in the field with new capabilities for assistance and getting access to documentation and to others to collaborate. as well as safety aspects and being able to monitor where those technicians are and if they are in a safe environment. You know, we heard a lot of that from Diamond earlier, and that's a really important key factor in you know, making sure that everyone, you know, I think, how do you put it, comes out of the job with 10 toes and 10 fingers. That's, you know, really important. So let me move on. I don't want to, I do just have a few slides here, but, you know, that's important. I think that as we talk about, you know, the breadth of capabilities that are now a part of this application suite. And again, optionally installed in your environment. So we do get that question quite a bit about, ooh, this seems like it could be a really big footprint. Do I need all of these things? No, of course not. You know, it doesn't make sense that everyone's going to have every industry solution or apply all of these to their environments right away. So that is, that's part of the flexibility and, you know, what the opportunity is here to be able to use some or all of these capabilities in that suite. So again, some of the key points here that we have been focused on the integration, and as every product evolves, that will continue to become tighter and more transparent to the end user. You know, where they are within the suite and what kind of information they need should be based on their role, and not necessarily seeing the difference that, oh, I'm in health versus I'm in you know, using safety or et cetera. The use flexibility comes around how this is sold. So the new notion of application points or app points is the metric we use, and you have a pool of those app points that are monitored by a licensed server, and they are checked in and checked out based on the user's profile and what access they have in their security, whether they're a premium base or limited user, determines how many points they will consume for their session. And when they are logged out of their session, they check those points back in and they can be used by someone else. I've got some details on that, but really a truly supported concurrent model across, you know, the different products. And with that single set of points, you have access to a lot of capabilities. So we don't keep, you know, if you go here, we take 10, go somewhere else, we take another 10 and another 10. You know, 10 points as a base user gives you access to a lot of the key capabilities that you would need. And then there's a whole discussion on OpenShift and evolving our way to technically support these environments and to improve the way that the IT department can deploy and move these between different environments. And it's not all cloud or SaaS offerings. There's also an on-prem option. So this can all be managed in your own on-site on-prem cloud, if you will. But the tooling and what we get from OpenShift really helps to bring that into our, you know, next generation of managing these environments, and a lot of improvements that we can see from that perspective. So here's just another visual example of how this app points works, and again, across all of the capabilities. We do offer the license as a subscription now, as well as the perpetual licenses that we've always offered. So you can have a subscription term license, and there's no separate SNS, and you know, that could be for a, you know, minimum of 12 months. And that you would renew that subscription as you go. And for those who are still looking at that, you know, CapEx model, the licenses are still available. So this seems a little busy, but we're trying to represent here. We're trying some new views. Oh, I see a little scrolling issue at the bottom, but so from premium user, 15 points, base 10, limited 5, and we still support the no app points required for the self-service user. And you can see some of the capabilities that are available there. So premium, we're really talking about from a managed perspective, getting into the industry solutions, as well as like ACM, service provider, and HSE. Those all require 15, as well as predict, and the available in 8.4, the health and predict utilities version, and the visual inspections. But as I said, 10 includes, you know, for that base user, all of the EAM, so managed, so sort of core Maximo, which now will also be installed with linear and calibration and scheduler. So those are all also just for that same 10 points. And then the health and safety. We still support limited with the same kind of license restriction as we do today. You know, select 3 modules, but we do. We also cover what was formerly in Express with a limited with 5 points. So for users who want read-write access across the system or status change, those require the 5 app points. Mobile, monitor are also covered with that. There is still a notion of an install. So this is at the bottom and I can see my scrolling here. So it's, you know, 1 point times a multiplier. So there are various points required. For spatial, it's 20, for example. And these are across prod and non-prod environments as they are today. So just to be aware of that. So a little bit more on the technology. So some of the things that we are making available as well with the license. So as we think about, you know, today we bundle things like the WebSphere and DB2 as part of your entitlement with Maximo. We, with the Maximo application suite, bundle something called the IBM Cloud Pak for Data, as well as the OpenShift container platform. So those are part of the entitlement with this license. And in that Cloud Pak for Data, there's a number of, you know, AI Watson capabilities that are used for things like assist and monitor and visual insight. So the Watson Discovery, Machine Learning Studio for various aspects, DB2 Warehouse and WAS Liberty are part of that license, and lots more. So those capabilities, you know, similar to what we do today, we provide those things. So this is just showing the navigator. So again, you can install as few or as many of these applications as your business needs. And you can see here that this particular instance does not have Predict installed, but has the other applications and also has some other things. And so the administration, a lot of the administration of the suite has moved to this new this level as well. So we'll talk a little bit when it comes to an upgrade and that perspective, what you can need to manage within this top level. I do want to take 2 minutes, go through a couple of slides. Another place where we talk about, well, maybe it's not necessarily simplification. In some ways, I think it is, but the integration perspective. So as you're moving to these different applications and different processes across the suite, that you have the same experience. So we are following a new IBM design pattern. It's not being used only by Maximo or the suite, but across IBM. So as you go into different tools, you use the same. You'll see the same fonts and colors and navigation. Ability to perform different actions will all be consistent. So the left is an example of the mobile interface and the right is monitor. So you'll see there's similarity. It also provides us a way to more quickly develop applications. So this content library is available. If a developer needs to add a new component, they can follow that template, if you will, on how things should look. So this is Manage 8.0. So there is a little bit of a new nomenclature, I guess, how the numbering works. So the application suite itself will have a version number, and each application within the suite has its own version number. So although the version coming out in the middle of May is the suite 8.4, it's the first instance of Manage. So Manage is at the 8.0 level. Other components have been around for a couple of releases. So Health, I think, for example, it might be on 8.3. So you'll see that can vary depending on which level. But not a lot has changed. This should be recognizable to you as a work order tracking application. I think we've got just some minor changes here, like the search navigation is just at a different place on the page. The left-hand navigation actually now can collapse by default, and there's some new icons. I think that that's a nice feature. It gives you some more real estate on the page. We were able to, you know, with part of this new design pattern, actually picked up some things that we had been hearing as enhancements for many years, things like anchoring my tabs at the top of the page. So when I'm in a work order details page, you can kind of get deep into that, scrolling down on the page and maybe have multiple table windows embedded and opened, and I might lose my orientation. So I always now know where I am and have a quick navigation. On the front screenshot, you can see there where I can just jump between them if they happen to have scrolled off the page. So that's a nice improvement. Maybe I'll start with the middle point here. The other nice new capability is that the table window details are actually embedded within the table. So when I open a row, it opens exactly where I am. It doesn't open at the bottom of the table. So for things that are longer, I, again, can keep my orientation a little bit clearer. And all of the configuration capabilities that I've had in, current in 7612 and previous versions are still all supported, right? So no change there. We still have an application designer for the classic applications. We have a conditional UI support. If you had any of those utilized in the past, those changes will come forward as you go through an upgrade. Some of the things that have changed, though, are a couple of the property file options. And really, we are enforcing the consistency going forward in the suite, that this will be the look and feel of the application. There's no selection of a skin any longer. There's no option to move back to, apply one of the older skins. And the other one here that I just noticed here on the right is that there are toggles instead of checkboxes. So again, minor changes that align with the overall design patterns, but should not cause major disruption for any of your users or require massive amounts of training or retraining to be able to pick these apps up and use them as they do. Keep me honest here on time. I know I had a short window here, Jordan, so I just have a couple. Am I good? Okay. Mobile. So the new Maximo mobile application was released in January. This is a new mobile platform. It is has really been an evolution from what we started with the Anywhere release that removed our dependency on the third-party middleware. And it is a new kind of way of thinking about this as a single application with a role-based interface. And you can see this, again, the navigation page where if I have access to inspections and assist and safety, that I'll see all of those as cards available to me in the single mobile app, as opposed to how Anywhere might have delivered 8 or 9 or 10 different applications for different processes. There is now this notion of an intelligent workflow. We say follow the blue button. I think in the screenshot before you could see like there was start work was highlighted. And these are configurable so that you can help your new users know what the next probable best action is within that document, within that process, so that they have a visual indication of where to go. This is a new application framework, a mobile application framework, and we have the first iterations of configuration of these forms. It is still a little XML based, but will evolve, and we're continuing to move that forward as we will move towards supporting this Maximo mobile framework and moving away from the technology that the work centers were based on, right? That is a no longer supported technology. So you'll see a number of new applications all roll out under the Maximo mobile header to get on par with the capabilities currently offered in Anywhere and work centers. And this will likely take, 18 to 24 months. I'll put that kind of time frame on it. So Anywhere and work centers will continue to be supported, but do anticipate that at some point in the future, Maximo Mobile will be the offering to support all of the connected and disconnected mobile capabilities, as well as some online, work center like capabilities, and that the others will be deprecated. And here's just an example of the beginning of the mobile configuration, right? So we do have an XML editing page. There's an application list, so you can track what has happened. It will help with customization, I'll say, as opposed to configuration, and gives you some ability to preview those changes before you publish them. So again, it's not on par with what an application designer is, but it does provide more capabilities, I'll say, than we had in work centers, and we will continue to invest in this and improve it and add more application designer-like capabilities over time. Okay, just a quick on some of the newer mobile stuff, which is around Assist and the technology, the Watson AI technology that allows this natural language searching of documentation that's been digitized from your organization. And so you can see here either through, as I said, a voice to text or typing in, or you could pass information from a work order to get information about a centrifugal pump oil change. And with 99% confidence, this troubleshooting guidebook is the first related document that is relevant. And so you can open that, and with additional with the intelligence that it has, it will take you right to the page and highlight the section that's related to your question. You can continue to train these answers as well. Is this useful? Yes or no will help drive changes. But this is a great way to start collecting all of the information that might otherwise be not digitized today or not available to that technician when they are actually out in the field working. That this will stop them from having to go back to another location or have a lot of paperwork with them. The second piece, and I should mention it here, so you can see up in the right hand corner of the screenshot, if I can't find what I'm looking for, I have a second option here to collaborate. So if I can't find the digitized information, I can go and seek out assistance from an expert in my organization who's been identified and who has logged themselves on as available to be connected with, and start a virtual session. So I can share my screen, share images, a video stream or pictures, and have annotations and conversation back and forth with that individual, either through text or through voice, and capture their instructions directly on that image. You can see here, remove this, remove these one at a time, pull that towards you, right? That maybe those instructions aren't as clear when you're in the manual or there in person. And then the other great thing about these sessions is they can be captured and put into a library associated with that asset long term, used for training purposes, or for the next person who's out using the Assist and looking for documentation. One of these videos might come up as a result of their search in Assist. Okay, so just a quick kind of couple of last slides here. What to expect from the upgrade. I think the most important thing on this slide is at the very bottom. There is a link to the playbook. This is available to our customers, our partners. It is a living document. We continue to add information and update it, but you can find lots of information about what to expect from a overall changes to EAM. There are no database changes or data model changes in this initial release, right? We've spent, the focus here is getting it into the OpenShift container and delivering it as part of the suite. We are also supporting some of the new components that are delivered, so the DB2 warehouse and WAS Liberty. If you have your, using Oracle, you have your own licenses of Oracle or SQL Server, so we still support those as well as the DB2 Enterprise. If you have those licenses separately, that can be still supported. We talked about the new user experience. We talked about the new mobile experience. But there is a lot that comes with OpenShift, not only the updates to how you can install and and update and migrate these containers, these deployments, but also around the serviceability. So some improved logging options and monitoring options that we'll take advantage of. Some changes to the authentication. I mentioned that, you know, some of that, all of that user management is moving up to the MAS level or the Maximo Application Suite level. You'll hear that acronym used. We still support LDAP, but you know, there's that connection and synchronization then down with the manage level. Some updates to integration and the message queuing. Kafka has actually been supported since 7.6.1.2, might be 1.1. Still support JMS MQ if you bring your own license. So there's just some things to take into consideration there, looking at how you're doing your integration today and what updates might be needed. You know, as with everything, even, you know, with moving to OpenShift, there's kind of a roadmap to what we're hoping to take advantage of there as well, right? So initially, we are fully taking advantage of their ability to do automated provisioning and configuration as far as the install is concerned. So some of the things today that are of concern, like what is compatible. I'm trying to put, you know, oil and gas and scheduler and mobile and HSE. Well, you probably wouldn't do those, but a combination together, right? And I need to know from that large compatibility matrix if 7.6.1.2 supports oil and gas 7.6 blah blah plus, you know, spatial blah blah. But the OpenShift operators take care of all of that for you, right? That'll all be registered, and those kinds of questions will be much easier. The provisioning will be much easier, as well as the patch and minor upgrades. We're going to automate a lot of that, but there's still room for improvement there. And we really want to get to being able to, you know, improve life cycle and the processing and workload analysis piece. So getting into insights on, you know, what workloads are overtaxed, where do things need to be shifted to better run. When we talk about, you know, today we would call like load balancing. A lot of that is, you know, automated, and eventually we'll come into that autopilot area where there's, you know, automated tuning of those loads, if you will, to make sure that they're running effectively. So lots to learn and to take advantage of when it comes to the containerization aspects of the application suite. So just, I'll wrap up here on the roadmap, and I've mentioned it a couple of times. The 8. What says 8.x here, so we'll have 8.4. It has been announced April 27th. The official announcement went out, so May 18th will be the availability date. There are options for customers who want to get some app points and get licenses of the application suite to take advantage of some of the newer, I'll say, capabilities. I want to use visual inspections or assist or safety. I can install that and connect it to my 7.6.1.2 deployment, and run in that sort of coexistence model for some time. I don't think I noted on the mobile, I see in the bottom center here that the mobile release that was out in January is available to be added to 7.6.1.2. So again, that's purchased with app points, does not require an install of the application suite. So you can, you know, now take advantage of the new mobile apps and the new mobile platform within your current environments. We will continue on a quarterly basis, so there will be releases every quarter. It doesn't mean that every component within the suite will have updates. We do anticipate that initially everything is probably going to have updates every quarter, but over time you may see those cycles sort of spread out a little bit more. And we'll be taking some more time between the releases to update each component. So last slide, you know, next question, how long can I stay on 7.6.1.2? Right now, we're proposing that we announce end of support for 7.6.1 at the September of 2024 with an effective date of September 2025. So that gives us a good 4 years with, of course, there's the 3 years extended optional. We do see the release of some additional fixed packs of 761. We're looking at a 7613 for the end of the summer. It will be a fixed pack. It will be updates to currencies and other required middleware changes, critical bug fixes, and kind of rolling up any fixes that have been released. And we, I see that continuing for several years until the end of support dates. Okay, any questions there? I got some contacts there between myself and Dave Gazdia and Lisa Stuckless. We are available for questions.
Thank you so much, Kim. Per usual, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. I'll see if we can get you unmuted, and if not, just go ahead and drop it in the questions tab. Looks like we do have one question. Every place deployments typically have toolbar buttons to assist in navigation since side nav is not available. The query list is also often added to the dropdown. Will these be unavailable for every place in Maximo 8?
Those I can confirm, but I believe those will still be available. I think I've gotten that question before. I can go back to the design team. Right now, at least for the initial release, the new skin is not available for every place in 8.0. So those would still be available in that case. Now, when the new skin is applied, that might be different. So if you could, oh, I see it here in the chat now. John Rice. Okay, let me get some contact information, or if you want to drop me an email, I can follow up for sure.
That was actually Chris Winston.
Oh, I see.
And then John Rice is asking, just for clarification, 7612 becomes managed after 2028?
I don't know if that's quite the way I would say it. So so there, I guess after 761X, there is no Maximo Enterprise asset management, right? That product becomes the Maximo application suite. And so, yes, I guess that those components become managed.
All right. Someone trying to unmute themselves. All right, anything else before we end? We also have the third gift card winner that I will announce, but I know that this is always a popular topic. I want to make sure we got to all of the questions.
And I'll send this deck to you so you can make it available.
Thank you so very much. I was going to email you right after this and ask. All right, everybody. Well, we have one last poll here just regarding Texas meeting in person in the fall. If you want to go ahead and answer that. And then Todd Ginevon, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your last name, but you are the third gift card winner. So I will send you your Amazon gift card to the email that you used when you registered. And I'll give you guys a minute here just to finish up voting. We really appreciate the participation today. Thanks for your time. And of course, another big thank you to all of our presenters. You guys make these events happen. And I know that it takes time out of your busy work day. All of these presentations will be available on the Texas Maximo user group LinkedIn. I can also pop them into the More community, and y'all will get an email to the email you used when you registered when everything's available. And of course, I'll also make the recording available as well. And that's all I have. Any additional questions, feel free to raise your hand or pop them in the questions box. I'll go ahead and close this and share the results. Looks like the majority are good with an in-person meeting in the fall, so that's really exciting. We are eager to get started on planning that for you guys. Anything else from our team of presenters and organizers before we leave?
No, thank you, everyone. Appreciate the time today.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.